All right, well, thanks everybody for coming out. I'm your local history librarian, Randy, here at the Heights Libraries. Thanks for coming out on a beautiful fall night. We've got a wonderful program planned for you. Thanks again for coming out. If I could just mention a few words here before we get started. As always, I have my program surveys. We always like to get these at every library program. If you could just take a few minutes at the end tonight, just to let us know any ideas you might have about a future program you'd like to see us do. We do take these seriously. A lot of good ideas actually come in from these, so I'd appreciate it. I've got pencils here. And if you're here tonight, I suspect that you are interested in history. And I have a flyer here advertising some upcoming local history programs. Yes, come on in. To be held here at the library. The flyer's up here, help yourself.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
And the schedule is also online on the heightslibrary.org webpage. So I'm going to turn things over tonight. Are you all set?
Yeah, and then just be sure to use the mic, Ken.
Okay.
Because it won't be picked up.
I'm going to turn things over to Ken Goldberg, the president of the Cleveland Heights Historical Society. So thank you very much.
Can you hear me okay? Yes. Good. Laura Peskin is a Cleveland Heights native who mainly had always resided in Northeast Ohio. She had her own business in the 1990s, earned an MA degree in 2010 from John Carroll University, and wrote 4 local history books with focus on the arts, parks and nature, women's history, and much more. A great deal about the greater Cleveland area. Laura is a former trustee of the Cleveland Heights Historical Society and is currently a trustee of the Western Reserve Architectural Historians. After our Cleveland Heights Historical Society won the State Preservation Office's Public Education and Awareness Award in 2024 for our first 50 journals of our View from the Overlook, Laura was the author of the principal article, Double Vision, Cleveland Heights Two-Family Home Heritage, in our Historical Society's 51st issue. On screen is my first place of residence as an infant in Rochester, New York, 84 East Boulevard, a short 2-block street, unlike our East Boulevards in Cleveland. A very unusual street with a very refined federal-style Albert Culver house of 1805 and 1860, older than any building in Cuyahoga County. And on the other short block was the Bramson House, an actual Frank Lloyd Wright house. So I always feel some kind of connection with doubles and Frank Lloyd Wright. On screen is my first house. It's a very common style in Cleveland, it is common, but the most common in Rochester. The 2 sun porches on one corner, very typical. There are hundreds and hundreds, thousands of them in Rochester, and that's what I consider the Rochester equivalent to our Cleveland with the 2 porches, which Laura will have a lot to say about this evening. Laura, yes. Laura had suggested writing for the journal, which I thought was wonderful. And she said, would you give me a list of topics? I can't remember what you said, 15 or whatever. I came up with more, actually. She selected one on double houses. And I thought that was an excellent choice. First of all, she has her own personal connections with double houses with her relatives. And also, our Landmark Commission came up with a brochure and a whole large exhibit of many photographs some years back. And this is the brochure, the first brochure we came out with on double houses in Cleveland Heights. We're fortunate enough to have a reproduction here of an updated version. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, all right. So So Laura got involved with this project, and she went far, far beyond what I ever would have expected, imagined for our journal. All sorts of obscure sources, public documents and statistics, great amount of detail, far more than could appear in the actual journal, and then, as she probably will say, some additional information actually got onto our Historical Society's Facebook page. We had many, many conversations, architectural terminology, old resources, and we took some driving trips around the Heights. We discussed other cities. The city of Cleveland has so many thousands. Lakewood has many thousands in many styles, and other cities. Detroit, they're a lot like Cleveland, but the porches are a little different. They have open tops. The Buffalo has open tops. Detroit has more brickwork in general on the porches. I discovered recently in a trip to Baltimore, they seem to have no or very, very few doubles with an apartment on each floor. Since I just thought of this, started looking around Baltimore, didn't see any at all. Very interesting. Wondered if it was a legislation of some sort, an ordinance. Laura got photos from all over, and I contributed many, and I still feel like sending her some when I see the right kind. What can I say?
Please do.
We came out with classifications like ABC, most common, the second most common, third most common, and all that. Laura interviewed many individuals, and she got into a lot of social history connected with this. I think you'll find it quite fascinating. I give you Laura Peskin.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be here tonight. I'm glad everyone could come out. Got a good crowd here. And Ken really said quite a bit. He may have mentioned that I have additional information in this PowerPoint. And then a lot of things that are in the journal article, I'm not going over because those can be found there. And I want to add that I am a native of Cleveland Heights. I think Ken said that, but the interesting thing is in Cleveland Heights, I only lived in multifamily housing when I was here, and I was last living here in 2003 in an apartment. And then between 1986 and like 1992, I lived in like 5 different double or triple homes, including some third floors, including one in East Cleveland. And my mother, she's a native of Cleveland Heights, she lived there 1931 to 1955. I had some time off for college in there, but the house that she lived in, owned by her mother and grandmother, her parents, my grandparents, lived there from 1928 to 1963. And my father also lived in Cleveland Heights from 1943 to 1968. Another thing I want to mention, if there is bias toward the southern part of Cleveland Heights in this presentation, because I'm over it that way, so it's a little hard for me to get up by Noble Road. You'll see this beautiful house on the lower left there, a Tudor on Eloise Drive, near the Caledonia area of Cleveland Heights, which is not well represented in this presentation, and I'm sorry about that. And then in the middle, we have one of those Rochester doubles that Ken was telling you about on the corner of Compton and Berkeley Avenues, Compton and Altamont Avenue, something like that. And then on the lower right, we have a double home that was built post-war. That's kind of unusual for around here. In the golden age of Cleveland Heights building, 1915 to 1925, 1 out of every 4 homes built was a double or triple, but not post-war. You see it has attached garages. Anybody recognize that house? Can tell me where it is. Little quiz question for you here. Oh yes,
That's at the top of Edge Hill.
yeah, got it, Deborah. You are such a double specialist, yeah. Okay, and here's the family ranch, so to speak, in the Kane Park area. I think we told you just about everything about it. My mother, Carolyn Newman Peskin, that we just lost last October 30th. She was the Heights High valedictorian of the class of 1949. But you know, she had somewhat of a bleak childhood. Her parents were very strict, and she really loved living three-generationally in that house where she was in very close contact to her wonderful grandparents. You saw her grandmother in the first slide that was showing as you walked in. There's her grandfather and her in about 1933, and they're in front of what's called a corner double. We'll learn a lot more about it at Goodnor, East Overlook, and Superior Roads. The one thing I want to draw your attention to about her home is that the second floor sun porch in the front is enclosed, but not the first floor. That's what you call, we're going to get into the topology, a type 2 double. And it can have any combination of enclosures there. Sometimes the first floor porch is enclosed, but not the second floor. Sometimes both are enclosed, and sometimes both are open. Okay, we're not going to get into too much into definitions because we are short on time. We do have two other speakers tonight, and this material here was in the journal article. Can you hear me okay? I get the feeling this is, okay, because I thought this was very quiet, but I guess not. Guess it's fine. Okay, and I do want to draw your attention to this very interesting up and down double on Coventry Road, just a little north of Cedar. Because of the orientation, it's wider than it is deep, which is kind of unusual in Cleveland Heights because of the lot shape for the up and down doubles, but it is on a major street, Coventry. In other communities that you see more of this type. In Lakewood, don't you think in Lakewood, can you see more of them? Is that because they're more on major streets in Lakewood?
Well, Clinton has like 1,000 of them.
Where they're wider than they are deep.
A lot of both.
Yeah, because they're on more major streets in Lakewood, I think. And okay, why study double, triple homes? Well, one reason is that there's elegance in twos. Look at that photo in the lower left there from Park Hill Road. Jerkinhead roof, which is popular in Northeast Ohio. It's a hybrid of a hipped and a gable roof. There's throughout history, there's been a lot of contractors who are able to build and work on these in this area. That's not necessarily true of other areas. Now, the Van Swearingens who developed nearby Shaker Heights, they didn't think there was much elegance in twos at all. And on the top there, you see one of the so-called Van Swearingen type doubles, except in Cleveland Heights on Meadowbrook Boulevard. And the Vans mandated that from the street, it can't be a clue that it's actually a double home. Like you can't have any dead giveaway features like two front doors. The only time in Shaker Heights you would see that are if the homes were in another community that Shaker annexed between 1915 and 1920. Like in the Moreland area, you see your classic Cleveland doubles that we're going to talk about. The Vans didn't care much for those either. And then over by Sussex School, like on streets like Store Road, there is at least one up and down double with two front doors there. I believe it was built in about 1905 as part of Eastview Village. And well, another reason why to study double homes is Cleveland Heights is a very walkable community, very neighborly, very friendly, and so you get a head start on those things if you're already in a double home. I'm so glad that Deborah Van Cleef and Jim Miller could come tonight. They're pictured here. When I did a lot of interviews of people who lived in double homes, and there weren't very many takers on people willing to be photographed. Thanks, guys, for being really good stewards here. You might recognize Jim from his walks around town, but Miller and Van Cleef are all about living in communally, and when they bought their double home in 1980s, each family in each unit owned their suites separately, which is a pattern I saw with some of the other residents and owners too. And then the other side did sell out to them at some point, so reluctantly they became landlords, but it's not about a business investment. It's it's really about keeping afloat, and they have so many friends among their tenants. And I should have mentioned that the reason why I study double, triple homes is in Cleveland Heights, as in a lot of places in this country and overseas, living and being an owner-occupant of a double home makes things a little more affordable. You can rent out the other side, and that helps with the mortgage and everything. So, why I'll study double homes is their sheer numbers. Double or triple homes comprise 9% of Cleveland Heights' housing stock, and since there's generally more people in them than in single homes, an even greater percentage of the city's population than that 9%. And I'll let you look here yourselves and see what neighborhoods are heavy in double, triple homes. I mean, these neighborhoods have so many of them, it's an important reason to study them too. The only thing I want to draw your attention to here is this triple home on South Overlook Road. That possibly might be the largest. I'm sorry, it's a double home. It might be the largest in Cleveland Heights. Each suite has 5 bedrooms. There's a lot of doubles on South Overlook, but not that big. Going to go back here just for a moment. Here, okay, we're good. Okay, and diversity is very cherished in Cleveland Heights, and you also get more of that living in a double or triple home, as well as an apartment too. I talked to a lot of, when I did the interviews, a lot of people said diversity was important to them, and living in a double home, you never, someone from a very different background could be on the other side of that wall. So really get more diversity. And I am going to give the whole history of doubles in America. They regularly appeared in 17th century New England, perhaps other parts of the country too. I haven't done that much research going as far back as to the 17th century. 18th century, yes, 17th century, no. But in the mid-18th century, doubles appeared regularly in American colonial seaport cities, such as Newport, Rhode Island, and Charleston, South Carolina. These early doubles were either side by side or back to back. I have not been able to find much about these back to back doubles, which were the prevalent style until the 19th century. What I think they're talking about is that you do have 2 houses with their backs touching and the doors 180 degrees apart. Whether they both have some street frontage or one is totally in what we would call the backyard today. I don't know. Do you know a thing about this, Ken?
No, but I can picture a more expensive one in the front, unless it's between the 2 streets.
Yeah, that's a good hypothesis to explore. And in the 19th century, double homes had more prestige. They kind of lost some of that in the 20th century. Such as the Blake tenements here, which were built for wealthier people. And the word tenement meant a double home in the 18th century. It didn't mean that before or after, but it's not implying that there's any more than 2 suites here. It's near the courthouse in Charleston, South Carolina. It still stands today, built in the 1860s. A lot of the residents were visiting judges. I checked the census records, and one family was there for over a decade. And then there's company towns, particularly in New England, where the worker housing consisted of doubles. So in the 19th century and before, doubles were built for all kinds of people. Plan books have some very luxurious ones, and then in plan books you'll also see single homes, and with the instructions that it can also be a double home, just have smaller rooms. Double homes in urban American architectural history, above all other factors, came out of limited space and consequently high property values in the urban environment. A double house was noted, perhaps more than today, to be less costly than 2 single houses. Double homes may have been more desirable than multifamily housing in the 19th century, namely row houses. Now, I learned something from this too. Apartment houses are a post-Civil War phenomenon. The double house offered greater fire safety in the 19th century. This is very important. Before firefighting got so advanced, and there were also many more fires before electricity when you had a lot of open flames. I did check all my plan books on double homes, and none of the ones I saw had kitchens in sheds or separate buildings, which you saw for some homes in former centuries because of fire worries from the kitchen. Sometimes the kitchen was in the basement in doubles, I noticed. Also, the double house offered more privacy and more light than row housing, it being windowless only on the adjoining side. Okay, I set out, and this is reported not in the journal article, but more so in a captioned photo album on the Facebook page of the Cleveland Heights Historical Society. You could take a look. I looked at the 1881 Hopkins Atlas, of which you see an excerpt here. And you notice that there is some homes that appeared double, so it stands to reason that a lot of those may have been built before 1870 and even before the Civil War. I looked at newspaper ads to get confirmation on that, and I found 13 double homes that were built before 1870 that I followed up on looking at the census and whatnot. The earliest one I found was from 1849, and none of them are still standing today. Please, I have did I not put out the bookmarks? I'm gonna do so right now. If you know of any double that was built before the Civil War, built that way, not just converted from a single home, I'd really like to know about it. I'm trying to find my email here on these bookmarks. They were right in here, but now for some strange reason I am totally not. Oh, I know where they are, and I am going to get them out right now before I forget. Because if anybody knows any that are from before the Civil War, before 1870 in Northeast Ohio, let me know, please. And the house where the arrow is perhaps was from 1852, I'm not sure. There was an ad I was reading in the Plain Dealer. It's just a hypothesis, and this house here matched just so well. There's a lot of details in that captioned photo album I was telling you about. But one thing, this is in the Clinton Park area of Cleveland. There's not too many houses there anymore. It was a neighborhood of the 19th century, a mixed Irish and German, a working class area like around Hamilton Avenue, Lakeside Avenue, East 9th to East 18th in there, where, yeah, there was a lot of interest in double homes there. And this house, I noticed, retained, it's on East 9th Street, just a little south of Hamilton Avenue, where the green arrow is. It retained its family character throughout the 19th century, while many other houses around it either were chopped up into rooming houses by the end of the 19th century or developed stores on the first floor. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Clinton Park. Bill Hopkins, who's going to speak, his family lived there, his ancestors, and the house is circled where they lived. If it still stood, that corresponds to 1045 Hamilton Avenue, which has been industrial for many years now. And you see how many additions it has, how it's going back. I saw that a lot on the, yeah, this is already, let's see, what, yeah, that's the 1886 Sanborn map. Because in 1881, the house would be very small, but by 1905, it had all these additions on it because people really wanted something like a double or triple home. The 1860 census shows that the Wolf's, Hopkins family members, there were 14 people in that house on Hamilton Avenue on that narrow lot. And then in 1830, according to family records, there may have been up to 25 extended family members. And the experience in my family was the same. You saw my grandfather, great-grandfather, you saw my great-grandfather in that first slide. Recently I learned he arrived in Cleveland through naturalization records that someone into genealogy in the family did. He arrived in 1891, and he lived in a couple different houses on Orange Avenue in the central neighborhood by the main post office that all been raised. But they in 1881, they were just a small little square, but by 1895, they looked like that. They had a whole bunch of additions on them. And so is the case of the house that him and my great-grandmother lived in 1910, according to the census. 2355 East 39th Street. You can tell it's a single, looks just like a single house in 1896, but by 1912, there's this whole rear addition behind a firewall. And the census shows there's 3 families and a total of 17 people there. Writer Judah Rubinstein noted that when Eastern European Jews, like my great-grandfather, arrived in the central neighborhood, they desired multifamily housing. Encountering mainly vacant single homes left behind by the established German Jews, now moving eastward, the new arrivals subdivided the housing. Okay, here's some, there's a lot more doubles in Cleveland starting in about the 1880s, including that one at the upper right. That looks a little older, but I checked maps. And it just kind of has a rustic look to it because there was no development even there in the 1870s in that Slavic village area. There's many styles for these doubles in the 19th century. The one thing that they have in common is that they are all side by side. Turn on the highlight camera. Can you just turn on the highlight camera?
Sorry.
There is even a double home on Millionaire's Row. And that one, yeah, the Morris Bradley's house, and that one stood quite late into the 20th century, by the way, at East 72nd Street. And the carriage house is still there to this day. Artists have lived in it since the 1950s, the carriage house. And this house, which is obviously a beautiful East Lake home there in the middle, it took on a Tudor appearance by 1910 because the East Lake style was considered very passé by then. But on the left there, that's where Morris Bradley's mother Helen lived. And in the 19th century, it's counterintuitive to us, but wealthier people were more likely to live three-generationally and with extended family. Because think about it, there was no Social Security, no nursing homes. They really took care of their elders, and they expected to inherit something from them. They wouldn't want to ditch them. You find that occurring more with people of less means in former times. Okay, you can turn off the highlight camera now. Yeah, I'm very interested in three-generational living in doubles because that's the situation with my family, so I'm going to talk a little more about that later on. And I'm just going to gloss over this here because Cleveland Heights is a streetcar suburb. I mean, none of it would be here without the streetcar scaling the steep escarpment of Cedar Glen. That developer of Cleveland Heights' first neighborhood put it in. I call Euclid Heights Cleveland Heights' first neighborhood, the one developed by Calhoun, because it actually had a resident in 1893. That was Alfred Hoyt Granger. Yeah, developer Calhoun put in the streetcar for free, and but double and triple homes follow the streetcar lines a little more than single homes do. Again, maybe there's people of less means living there and they were not car owners. So I do want to draw your attention to the house in the upper left, which is a very early house, 1908 for Hyde Park Avenue. And that took advantage of even in plain dealer ads, you could see that took advantage of the fact of all these streetcars around here. The Mayfield car by the 1890s reached Lee Road. And the houses near St. Anne's Church, really took advantage of the Cedar Road line being extended. Father Powers there, he really pushed for that, as well as having double homes in his parish. He thought that would be good for parishioners, more affordability. Actually, it turned out that parishioners maybe wanted single homes more. I'm going to draw your attention to a 1929, the Cedar Road car reached Hampstead Road. That's a year after my grandmother and great-grandmother bought their double near Kane Park. So neither woman drove, so they had some streetcar access. And then in 1930, the Fairmount car reached Canterbury Road. And that enabled a lot of homes to go in the Idlewood Village section of town. That was an independent community at one time. It includes Clarendon and Bradford roads. Zoning has everything to do with what kind of homes are in the city, such as double homes, single homes, apartments. In 1901, Cleveland Heights as a hamlet was carved out of East Cleveland Township. In 1903, it became a village. In 1906, it got its first ordinance concerning double homes. None had been built yet. The first in 1907 on Belfield and Grandview Avenues, according to newspaper records. But they were coming, and so they wanted to have law for it. They were all side by side then. Up and down doubles were coming, but they weren't anticipated. But for a side-by-side double, the law mandated a firewall between the two sides. In 1921, Cleveland Heights became a city and got a lot more laws, such as Ordinance 2337, which was its first comprehensive zoning law. The law's aim was preserving Cleveland Heights as a pleasant residential area while, quote-unquote, preventing congestion and promoting safety, comfort, and prosperity. You're going to see a zoning map on the next page. The city was divided into 5 different use districts, designated U1 to U5. with U1 meaning only single-family homes could be built there. U2 allowing doubles and singles, and then U3 to U5 other uses such as apartment buildings, commercial, industrial. And then the 1920s, an ordinance was amended that there could be no basement suites in any double homes. They could not be made into triples or quads via the basement. And at the same time, cooking was banned in the basements of up and down doubles, because usually those only have one means of entry and egress, while side-by-side doubles have two. So you can see why that happened. In the 1960s, there was a housing code revision that mandated third floor suites in up and down triples have two means of entry and egress. In one of the interviews, one of the homeowners showed me this trap door she put in the floor after she told the city that a family member was going to live up there, and there was a stairway attached to it. But really, a lot of third floors to this day only have one method of entry and egress. They were grandfathered in, but that's how you get the convention of no cooking on a third floor in Cleveland Heights. Here's that zoning map I was telling you about, and the more checkered parts of it with more cross-hatching, there's more double homes and other use besides single homes. And you also had area districts, which mandated the minimum square footage on the lot for a family. And in a lot of them, the square footage was so great, like in an A1 district, that a double home, except that one I showed you on South Overlook, wouldn't be built anyways, but actually double homes were banned outright in those districts, except on corners. But there are 4 subdivisions of Cleveland Heights that don't have any double homes. Those are Oakwood, Inglewood, Ambler Heights, and the Euclid Gulf District. The other A1 districts, the doubles on the corner were okayed because they kind of have a mansion-like appearance. Each side can be a little different, and the entries front on different streets, providing more privacy. I'm going to give you an example of A1 districts with doubles only on corner lots, such as James Hindy's Coventry subdivision. Bless you. That's right across from the library, like Coleridge and Essex Roads. That permits doubles on corners. The only double I could find there burned down a few years ago at Coleridge and Lee Road. That was a very distinct double. It was yellow brick with eyebrow dormer windows. There's still about 5 of them remaining in Cleveland Heights. Okay, and I am going to talk about the earliest doubles in the city. We're going to have lots of time after this for questions and answers, but I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
So were U1 districts basically like gated communities at the time?
Gated, you're saying?
U1 were basically like gated?
No, they never were. No, a U1 district, that's a use district. It just means single homes. Double homes can only be built on corners. I'm going to talk a little bit about Cedar Heights here. I mentioned it in passing. It was started in 1893 or 1892, but no double homes at that time. Some of those, I'm so sorry, did I miss your question?